When I wake up in the morning, oftentimes in a little bit of a hurry, but having that balance of being in a hurry and having a focused task kind of puts me in a little bit of a meditative state. So I kind of have a few things to focus on before I have to be at work. Wakes my mind up. It kind of gets me ready for the day. And I found that if I don't have this little routine to get me going, it kind of throws me off for the rest of the day. But it turns into this kind of zen-like thing, even though I do kind of feel frantic sometimes with it. I've tried doing a lot of this stuff at nighttime, and sometimes it works. Like I still get these overnight oats that I, put in the fridge at night, or maybe I'll prep a little rice, or something like that. But there's always something that I do in the mornings that keeps me a little busy before I have to get to work. So right now it's 4:16. I gotta be out of here by 4:45. My first client's at 5. I like to drink the overnight oats on the way to work. And then maybe after my first client, I have 8 ounces of eggs, 8 ounces of egg whites, and then a single egg in there. And, after my first client, it takes me probably 2 or 3 minutes to eat that. I just spread that out a little bit, So, just washing the rice right now, making sure this isn't cloudy. It goes a long way toward making sure that the texture is right with the rice. There you go. That's a cup. And then I just fill the water up to the line, let it sit, and it's good to go. So, usually just clean this bad boy out. There's nothing stuck to it, just making sure that it's good. I like to use the avocado oil. I've done coconut oil in the past. Works just as well. Those are the two I kind of alternate between. And as far as the egg whites go, I alternate between the store brand and the Bob Evans. And honestly, that just has to do with price. And they both alternate in price so widely that, I just pick whichever one's cheaper. The ingredients in both is just 100% egg whites. So, although I am kind of partial to the brand of eggs that I use. I used to, when I first started prepping, get just, the 60 count of eggs you get from, Kroger. And I started getting these Happy Eggs, and their eggs are more orange. It reminded me more of like the free range. We had a friend who would give us eggs off of her farm, and that was more the color and consistency and the thickness of the eggs, and that's kind of more what I wanted, so I kind of stuck with those. There's also a brand called there's another brand or a couple of brands that are kind of popping up lately that do the same thing, but they're wildly more expensive. So that kind of strikes a balance. What am I doing? That kind of strikes the balance between, the price and the quality. So little salt on there. Alrighty, and then we go ahead and get these extra 4 eggs done. So the first 2 meals of the day, I talked to you about the oats overnight and this what I'm cooking right now, the eggs and the egg whites. The second meal is actually more eggs. I do 4 eggs, make a little omelet out of it, cut it in half, and I make these little egg muffin things where it's like a little two little egg sandwiches. I do 2 English muffins and 4 eggs to make 2 little sandwiches. And I do that because, first of all, I love it. It tastes delicious. Typically, I get the blueberry English muffins. I have to actually go to the store in the middle of the day to pick those up. If I can't find them, I'll just do the regular English muffins, but the blueberry are my favorite. They also have pumpkin spice during the fall that I like a lot. But the reason why I do that, because those are kind of handheld, and while I'm training folks, it's easy to just like have something in your hand as opposed to like a spoon, with a bowl or something like that. And trying to choke down some chicken and rice, it's just a little bit more user friendly while I'm trying to train. Especially some of the clients that I have that are less like hands on and more me just watching. I can just sit back and observe and eat, because I do all my clients back to back to back, so there's not a whole lot of time to sit down and get any food. So there's that. All right. I don't always have dishes in the mornings when I start off. It just depends on how I felt the night before, or the last few days have been super, super busy for me. So I kind of just had not the cleanest kitchen to start off with, but I try to not leave the house in the morning with a whole lot of dishes in the sink. And if there's a lot of times where I'm just sitting there waiting on the eggs to cook, where I could just knock these boys out real quick. Yeah. So, I've never been a fan of dishwashers. I mean, it's just me in the house, so and I don't produce enough dishes to constitute a full load of washing dishes. So I just kind of usually do them by hand, and typically, if I'm not in a super big hurry, I'll kind of wash them as they go along during the day. And, that kind of helps out. But I don't mind doing them in the morning either. It's kind of whatever's most convenient. Again, this tends to be kind of meditative after a while. You kind of get in here and get lost in thought while going through your little morning routine. I've actually found that I get kind of irritable if anybody's around, or even in the kitchen while I'm trying to do all this stuff, because I'm moving around a whole lot, and the kitchen, this kitchen particularly, is so small that no matter where you stand in it, you're probably going to be in the way of where I need to be in like the next 2 seconds, because there's only like 3 spots to be in the kitchen. So, and I tend to go back and forth between all of them for one reason or another. So I'm kind of grateful to kind of be up so early, to where it gives me a little bit of time in the morning to do my own thing, have a little time to myself, and not have to worry about the rest of the world for a little bit. Also don't have to be on. You kind of gotta have to, when you're training folks, you gotta match people's energy and kind of be on for them, and that It's nice to not have a portion of the day where you know you don't have to do any of that stuff. Don't get me wrong, I love my clients, but like any relationship, the balance is really good as well. Funny story about the water. I got that filter from Culligan. They specialize in lead reduction in water. There was a period of time where I kind of suspected there was like some sort of lead in the water because I was exhibiting all kinds of weird symptoms, indigestion and fogginess and thought and things like that. But this thing is not wanting to. Come on. Anyway, point is that when I got that filter on the water, a lot of that stuff cleared up. I don't know if it's actually lead. Who knows? But all I know is that that was a thing for a while. All right, there's my egg white omelet. That looks pretty good. Right there, I'll throw some hot sauce on that later. I like to let it air out a little bit and give it as much time as I can before I got to lid it up, because a lot of moisture builds up in that thing and it turns into kind of like this watery mess if I throw the lid on there immediately. Sometimes I got to do that if I'm in a big hurry. So, but I try to let it air out as much as possible. Now this is just 4 straight eggs, like I said. It tends to be thicker, a little bit more robust than the egg whites, and can hold together a little bit better during the flip. Although that was a good flip. Like it held together really well. So anyway, again, I get to work overnight oats, egg whites and egg, do my muffins, and that's like middle of the day. I get off at like, I don't know, noon or something. And then when I get off work, I'll go ahead and have a third meal. Typically it's either, chicken and rice. So I'll do like 6 ounces of chicken and 150 to 200 grams of rice, and then some vegetables in there, usually 80 grams or so, salted up, which is what I'll likely do today. I might do the beef. I don't know if I have the time. But I typically do that right at the end of work, and then I go straight from work to go work out. Done with that about 3:30. I know it doesn't take me like 3 hours to work out. I just usually, my eating after work and hanging out for a little bit takes a little while. So, yeah. Throw a little salt on this. And then after my workout, I'll do protein shake, like 2 scoops of the old MRE Light. Let's see if I can get one of these bad boys down. There we go. MRE Light. This one's oatmeal chocolate. It all tastes, honestly, I don't care how it tastes. Like when you drink protein shakes for so long, it's just, I really don't care. I just choke it down. It takes 2 seconds. So what? So, actually, I'm gonna just switch those burners out. See, I'm just gonna cook a little ground beef this morning and get all that packaged up. Looks like I'm gonna have plenty of time. Overcook that. I'll tell you what. I need to get back to this habit. What I did was once I get done with the first set of eggs, I would run the pan under some water to cool the pan down before I put the other eggs in, because I don't really like this brown that's on here. And it makes it like, I don't know, it's just a different taste. The eggs, you get a little, everybody likes their eggs a little different. I just do is fold these sides in a little bit, right there. Fold this side in just a little bit. Ooh, there we go. And then I cut it down the middle. And then those 2 little pieces fit perfectly on 2 different little muffins, little sandwiches. throughout the day. Works perfectly. I'm just going to actually leave that on. Cast iron over here. I like to cook the meat in a cast iron. I don't know why. It just feels better. This thing's older than I am. My mom gave it to me a few years before she passed, and it's been it was really rusty and just awful when I first got it. And over the years, I've tried to do my best. I'm not like an expert in taking care of this kind of stuff, but I try to do my best in taking care of it and restoring it and all that good stuff. So it's done a pretty good job for me. I always put my meat containers in a separate bag because you don't want that stuff sitting in your garbage. It does not smell the best. So I usually set it off to the side and take out to the garbage outside on my way out. So I don't have any other foodstuffs in my garbage. Yeah. And the beef is like hit and miss. I always like to do my beef in like smaller chunks. This is 93%, I think, lean. So I just cook them a pound at a time. I used to cook giant, like 3 or 4 pounds on a giant skillet. It just absolutely took forever though. And I found that you actually end up saving a little time if you cook a pound and then drain it and do another pound. Sometimes I'll throw some seasoning in here, but I've actually found that I don't really notice the difference between seasoning and no seasoning because I typically put I do this with white rice and some green beans. I mix the green beans in with the beef and throw some sauce in there. I got some of that Joey Swole sauce. I got some Huey G Hughes, sugar-free barbecue on there. I throw a few of those things on here, and after you throw that stuff on there, I can't really taste any seasoning on the beef, after that. So half the time I don't even bother seasoning the stuff. The chicken's a different story. Definitely throw some some seasoning on the chicken. And I've been lately experimenting with different chicken ways to cook the chicken. Like I started off back in the day, just 430 minutes, big old sheet of chicken breast. Then I went to the air fryer with some chicken tenderloins. And now I'm taking chicken breasts and cutting them into little strips, throwing them into the air fryer. It's a little cheaper that way. And, I'm just kind of figuring out the cook times for those now. So, you're always kind of learning with the meal prep stuff. A lot of people get discouraged with meal prep just because it typically takes so long and you kind of have to cut a chunk out of your day for it. And typically what I've ended up doing, as I'm doing now, is I looked in the fridge. I've got a little bit of chicken, but I could probably cook more of that once I get home from the gym. And I got a little bit of chicken, not like maybe enough for a meal. It's probably 6 ounces worth at least. That'll finish me off for the day with that. And I probably need to cook more because I've got 2 chicken meals for the day. I got 2 6-ounce chicken meals that I eat during the day. So I will have to cook some more chicken later, but I kind of take it as it comes. Some people do the whole week at once, and it just seems, it's just daunting for me. The more I can create small tasks for myself, the more likely I am to get it done. And, once what I was getting at is that the longer you end up doing this stuff and the more often you end up doing it, the faster you get at it and the less of a task it seems to be in your head. When people are first starting off, they make the tasks that they have to do. Oh, there's the rice. They make the tasks they have to do, like these big things in their head, and So they're less likely to do them, you know. But in reality, it won't actually take you that long. You know. It's kind of like somebody tell you, go fold the laundry. 9 times out of 10, like every time everybody I talk to about laundry, they're like, oh, I hate folding laundry. And, you know, for me, yeah, I don't like it, but in reality, it only takes a few minutes, maybe 30 minutes at the most. And you can easily, you know, pop on a show or, you know, a podcast or whatever and knock it out no problem. I mean, you spend that much time scrolling through your phone anyway. So I do drain the meat, but when you're talking about the 90, you know, the 93, it's not a whole lot of fat we're talking about anyway, but you know, and the meat doesn't get that dry just because, like I said, I put a little bit of that G Hughes or, you know, Joey Swole sauce on there. For the beef specifically, I like the G Hughes on there. It's a little bit thicker. That Joey Swole sauce is thinner. I do that for my chicken a little bit. So there we go. And so for this pan, while it's hot, what I like to do for it is I'll throw a little bit of, I don't like to put vegetable oil in my actual food, like food, but I will throw a little bit of this bad boy onto the pan while it's still hot. And then get a couple paper towels. Fold them up like that. Let that oil get nice and hot and just kind of work it around a little bit. And just kind of like sweep the floor with it. Get all these little bits. And if for some reason any of this stuff kind of stuck, I'll come back later. I've got this mesh, this chain mail. I've got this chain mail scrubber thing right here. It does a really good job of kind of getting in there. You don't have to worry about it. It's not like Teflon. It's like the opposite of Teflon. I could scrub that thing all day long and nothing happens to it. You're not going to ding it or scratch it. And then I'll just let this sit here and slowly cool down. That's the good thing about iron. It takes a long time to heat up, but it's real even. It takes a long time to cool down. It gives it plenty of time for that oil to kind of get into those little cracks and crevices and stuff. So, and then let's see here. So I still got about 7 minutes before I got to head out of here. So what I'll do is I'll just transfer this. I normally cook two pounds, which I probably should, but nah. Let's leave it with a pound today. I'll take this out. Alrighty. So, yep, more cleanup. That's half the job right here is cleanup, you know. But if you can stay on top of the cleaning, I mean, the rest of it's kind of easy. You know, that's like like creating little tasks for yourself. You know, if you don't do the dishes because it's too much of a task, then you don't clean up and stuff, then when you come into the kitchen to do what little meal prep you have to do that should take 10 minutes, you got this giant pile of dishes, and you're like, well, damn, I got to clean up all these dishes first. And then that little task turns into like 15 little tasks that adds up to a bigger task. And when you think about it in your head, you're like, man, that's 2 hours worth of work right there. And then you don't end up doing it. So, but, you know, you turn it into this whole Zen process instead of thinking about it like work. You're like, hey, this is my time to myself to kind of meditate because I've done this thing so many times. It's just kind of like a process now. It's part of my day that I look forward to because it's my time. People leave me alone, and I get to just get in this zone of getting it done. And it's no longer a negative thing. So, all these things are psychological. Just little ways to think about little things like that make an improvement on your day in a large way. And but the opposite is true as well. You have negative habits and those negative things, and they don't seem to be negative on the surface, but they add up and they end up taking away from the quality of your life, over a period of time. It's important to identify those things. I used to sit in bed for 15-20 minutes after my alarm clock would go off, just kind of trying to get ready for the day, and then I realized I was having to hurry too much to get to work, and then therefore I wasn't getting my meal prep done. I wasn't mentally prepared for my clients, and then started gaining weight because I was, I didn't have my mental kind of strategy ready for the day, or I didn't have my peace time, so to speak. And so that 15 or 20 minutes of me just sitting there trying to relax kind of added up to a somewhat of a negative experience for the rest of the day, and that's not where you want to be. And so you got to identify those little things that negatively contribute, even though they don't necessarily feel like a negativity. And break those little routines. So in other words, you don't have to have a life-altering change to completely redirect the trajectory of your day. There we go. I am cutting it close today. It only really takes me 10 minutes to get to work, so I do go. So if I leave between 4:45 and 4:50, I should be fine. But mentally, I try to do the 4:45 just to kind of give myself a little sense of urgency, All right, let's make this one extra meal, and that should be good. The muffins, I've got a little break during the day, and I did not go get muffins when I should have yesterday. But luckily, I have about a 30-minute break today, right where I need to be eating those. It's untypical, but it happened today, fortunately. So I can run and get a little bit of English muffin real quick. So, alrighty. So we got 8 ounces of this. And at work, I keep my sauces and stuff in the fridge, so I don't sauce it before I microwave it. I do it afterwards because it changes the consistency, and you just don't want a bunch of sauce sitting on your stuff in the fridge all day. So, alrighty, there's that. I have a little time today. I'll cook a little more beef. I got 1 more pound that I need to cook anyway. So. Alrighty, get a little bit of this rice right here. They already have ready. Measure that in grams. There we go. All right. Very important whenever I reheat rice, especially if it's a little bit older like this rice. It's got a little bit of grit, like this little grit to it, Should I just go ahead and throw that's why I said 150 to 200. I'm not specifically trying to cut or anything like that, or you know, and in the big scheme of my macros, I'm still at a deficit whenever I do the 200 grams. But sometimes I have a little bit of this rice left over like that. I got to 150. I don't want to sit there and have like a 1/16 of a cup of rice in my bowl. Let's wash that out real quick. Dry it. And then I'll put that new rice in there. Be ready for next time. Get a meal done later today. And basically every single day I put on a thing of rice. I only cook a cup at a time because I like my rice to be a little fresher. One thing I can't stand is having rice that's like 3 or 4 days old. That stuff is disgusting. What I typically do when I'm microwaving rice is I'll run my meal in general under a little bit of water, just a tiny bit, both over the meat and the rice. I'll put the lid on it and I'll just crack the lid a little bit. It turns into like a little bit of a steamer situation, and it reconstitutes that rice a little bit, so you're not sitting there chewing on the, you know, hard rice. I can't stand that. Nothing's more unappetizing for me. There you go. So there's that. Oh, I almost forgot my overnight. This is what the overnight. It's literally the Oats Overnight brand, and they do a good job. It's a little pricey, but you know, honestly, with how convenient it is, it's worth it, I think. I used to do. I forgot the veggies. I used to do like Steel Cut Oats with some peanut butter or some PB2 or PB Fit or whatever in there, and then some stevia. So this is somewhat of an experiment with these Oats Overnight. I've been on them for a couple of months, and I might go back. I don't know, but it's always good to. This is mostly damn ice. But you know, I might go back. I don't know. It's just you got to play with things a little bit every now and then and see how you feel. Keep yourself from getting bored, going crazy. There you go. There's that. These have cooled down. The eggs have cooled down a little bit, so I can put the lid on without them going nuts and creating a rainforest in the Tupperware container. It's like one of those little Coke bottle biomes you made in like the 3rd grade. Terrarium. A little terrarium. Except with scrambled eggs. Alrighty, here we go. Alright, well, it is 4:48. If I can jump out of here real quick, we can be on the road at working time. I'm going to throw that away when I go out. And we're good to go. Bam, bam, bam. Got my water. Alrighty. Turn that off. I'm done for this morning. There we go.